You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Supernatural Chat Show with your host, Sean Cadman, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the Supernatural Chat Show with me, your host, Sean Cadman. Well, tonight's guest, hopefully, is Mr. Johnny Houser. We're just waiting for him to get the link through. So, in the meantime, it's just me. So, if anybody is in the chat room and has got any questions, please feel free to put them forward and we can have a chat between ourselves. Tonight's show is actually about conspiracy theories. Now, this, personally for myself, is a fascinating subject. There's that many things out there, from the sublime to the ridiculous, really. I think one of my favourite conspiracy theories at the minute is HAARP. Has anybody out there heard of HAARP? Basically, what I know of HAARP, it's supposedly a huge area of almost like antennas that are in America that they reckon are firing ions up into our atmosphere that are changing the world's weather. Now, in a way you can understand this. There is some credence to this with the way the weather's going, but is that just an easy explanation for the actual climate change, or is something like HAARP creating climate change? Will we ever know? I don't know. It's one of my favourite things at the moment, because since this theory of HAARP's come up, there's been a hell of a lot of strange weather going off. The United States government deny, as usual, they deny anything to do with HAARP. They say it's just a radio testing station and everything else, but it covers several huge football field size areas with hundreds and hundreds of these antennas. But if as the American government state that this is just radio antennas, why will they not let anybody in? Again, that sort of theory goes on to the likes of Area 51. It's probably one of the greatest of all conspiracy theories. If it is just a military base, why aren't you allowed within miles of the place? What are they doing there? Why is there all these sightings of things going off there? If you've got a favourite conspiracy theory or something, just pop it in the chat room and we can have a chat about that. Not just America that's got them. We've got this country as well, the conspiracy of Princess Diana's death. Was it an accident, as is claimed? Or was it really something a little bit more sinister? Was it organised by MI6, the royal family? Who knows? But it's something that's out there that just, it gets people thinking, is everything as it seems? Or is there more sinister things out there that are controlling things? I think the one that's in the news the most at the moment, that probably most people have heard of, is the Mandela effect. which basically got its name from Nelson Mandela. A lot of people remembered vividly Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s. Then when his death was announced not that long ago, people were like, well, hang on a minute, didn't this guy die in the 80s? Why has he suddenly died now? And since then, there's been a lot, people have noticed a lot of things. Example, Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. Apparently his life was like a box of chocolates. People have the different memories of it. You've also got the TV programme, Sex in the City, is now Sex and the City. Which one is it? The Coca-Cola symbol, the dash in the logo. Has it always had a dash? Was that dash added? We don't know. People claim that it's false memories, but what is a false memory? Where does that false memory come from? Surely there's some credence there, something that's implanted that false memory in our minds. Another theory on all this, on the Mandela effect, is alternate realities. We're crossing timelines. We're remembering small little snippets and things from a different timeline where they've crossed. So, example, in a parallel universe, Forrest Gump in the film said life was like a box of chocolates. In this universe, we're travelling along, we watch the film, it's life is like a box of chocolates. They've crossed over. Some people remember was and some people remember is. If Google Mandela effect, and there is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Star Wars, I think, is one of the great big ones with Luke, I am your father. Apparently, he never said that. He says, Luke, I'm your father. Another one, I think it's C-3PO, the gold-coloured robot. Apparently, he's always had one silver leg. He's never been completely gold. He's always had a silver leg. You can even go back now, watch the films, and he's got a silver leg. Now, I'm 100% sure when I was a young lad and watching Star Wars growing up, I had all the action figures. I can never remember C-3PO having a silver leg. He was all gold. So how on earth can they change something in a film that can be remembered so vividly as the colour of C-3PO, from being all gold to having a silver leg? Actually, if you Google these things, there's hundreds of them out there, and it really, really does blow your mind, because there's stuff out there that you think, yeah, and then you watch that and you say, well, no, that didn't happen. Why is that? That didn't happen. But this Mandela effect is affecting more and more and more people by the day. And there's more and more memories that are changing. Things that people would swear by are changing. Even down to quotes in the Bible have changed. And people are going back and looking, and it's not as they remember it. So it classes as a conspiracy theory, but how could the government possibly change history? How have they gone back, for example, the Star Wars into the 1970s to change things? How have they managed to change a DVD that somebody's got at home where they can remember watching it with C-3PO being all gold, and now all of a sudden they put that DVD back into the DVD player, press play, and there's C-3PO with a silver leg? It's crazy. Like Kerry's just said, false memory. Where do these memories come from? Why do we remember so vividly something different to what it is now? How do we get these false memories? Where do they come from? It's crazy. It's something that I've looked at a lot over the past few weeks. I've watched video after video after video of these Mandela effects, and I just can't get my head around it. I really cannot get my head around why things that I remember from my childhood and from growing up are now different. Totally different than it used to be. So if there's anybody in the chat room that's got any thoughts on that, feel free to post them, have a discussion, see what you think. But it's definitely a weird one on me, that one. Now, I think another one of the probably biggest conspiracies out there, the one that everybody's heard of, is the New World Order. What is the New World Order? Now, we know little bits about it. The New World Order is supposedly going to get one government. It's led by the Illuminati. But then, who's the Illuminati? Nobody knows who the Illuminati is. Now, a lot of these conspiracy theories that are out there are to do with the Illuminati. But again, where did the Illuminati come from? We know apparently originally it was the original Freemasons, or another organisation drenched in conspiracy theories. The Illuminati was born out of that. There's the Illuminated ones. But who are they? Supposedly they control the world. They control the world governments. The world governments are their puppets. This is what we're told on all these conspiracy things. But who are the Illuminati? Nobody knows. They've been filmed going into things, supposedly the richest, most influential people in the world. But if they're the richest, most influential people in the world, why don't we know the names? Who are they? Why are they trying to control everything? Why are we fed what they want us to think on the news instead of the truth? Surely if we was told the truth, these conspiracy theories wouldn't gain ground. But looking at it from the other foot, are these conspiracy theories a way of a false flag, if you like, a way of taking us away from what's really going off, from what's really happening? Who knows? Again, we don't know what's what, how and why these theories come apart. The Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, and then there was the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17. What happened to them? Conspiracy theories have flown all over the internet and everywhere since they disappeared. Did they disappear? Did they even exist? Was it something else to take our attention away from what's really happening? Or is that a conspiracy theory in itself? Distract the public, do something while everybody's concentrating on something else. Is that what they do? Or is that another conspiracy theory that somebody's just come up with to try and explain away what we can't explain, i.e. the Malaysian airline flights? How can an airliner full of people disappear, just vanish in thin air? 9/11. Probably, I'd say, 9/11 is probably one of the biggest conspiracy theory there is. Was it set up by the government? Would a government really kill thousands of their own civilians just to go to war for oil? This is what this conspiracy theorists say. Apparently no planes even hit the buildings. It was all news. All the news footage was already put together, ready with holograms on it, all edited, so as soon as the explosions occurred, put out on the news that it had been caught on film. Apparently people who have come forward claiming that they never saw a plane, only the explosion, have been silenced. You don't hear their stories. They're not put out on the news. Is that true? Or again, is that just feeding a conspiracy theory? Are these conspiracy theories, is there any credence to them? I don't know if anybody's seen, but there's a programme, it's quite an old programme, well, a few years old, and it runs a lot of reruns on True TV, on Sky. Conspiracy Theories with Jesse Ventura, it's called. Now, Jesse Ventura, he's been a wrestler, he was in the army, he was a governor of the United States, and now he investigates conspiracy theories. He's got a little team and off they go looking at all these different conspiracy theories. It's a fascinating watch. But if the governments of the world are so intent on hiding the truth, why did they let somebody delve so far and publish it out on TV? Surely, if the government's involved in conspiracy theories, they'd try in some way to stop it getting into the public domain. They've got the capabilities. They quite easily stop all this going out over the internet and in newspapers, etc., etc. But they don't. They let out little bits of information. Again, why? Why would the government want people looking into something that they're going to cover up? If it's a big cover-up, then surely they wouldn't even let you have an inkling that something's going off, because human nature tells us, as soon as we get an inkling that something's going off, there's something happening, then we want to know more. It brings back to the paranormal. We know there's something out there, spirit of some shape or form, we know, but we go out there looking for it because we want to know more. The same with the conspiracy theory idea, for me, is the government put little bits out there knowing we're going to look into it. Why? Why do they want us to look into something that they're going to cover up? The moon landings. The moon landings. What can you say about the moon? I mean, I see posts every day, different people posting stuff about the moon landings. How can a flag fly and flutter like the one in the photos does when there's no gravity on the moon? Or very, very, very little gravity. How can it do that? Footsteps prints that are different from the boots. Oh, there's hundreds of them. Was it a soundscape? Was it all filmed in a big hangar and made to look like the moon? Did we land on Mars? Or was that, again, I think that was filmed in the Australian outback on the red sands and stuff? There's that many things out there that we don't know. But why do people look into them? Because they're put out there. Why are they put out there? Because the powers that be it the Illuminati, the governments, we don't know, again, put them out there because they want us to look at them. But why do they want us to look at them? Is that a conspiracy? We don't know. But the list of these conspiracy theories really goes on and on and on. You've got Denver Airport. I don't know if anybody's ever looked into Denver Airport. I was actually watching this one not that long ago. Basically, Denver had perfectly working, perfectly adequate, not long built for the costs of tens of billions of dollars airport. Right next to Denver, supplying everything, fantastic. One of the biggest airports in the States. Next thing, they suddenly start building a new airport. And this new airport, again, Denver Airport, kept going over budget. They dug down for this, that, and the other. Then they had to fill it in. Then huge concrete sections were lowered into the ground. And rumours are that there's virtually a city was built underneath the new Denver Airport. There's been photographs sneaked out about it and all sorts of things. The whole airport is rife with Illuminati and Masonic symbolism. Nobody knows who funded it. Nobody's ever come forward saying that they funded Denver Airport, which went into, again, the tens of billions of dollars to build it. So where did this money come from? It wasn't government money, apparently, and nobody's claimed responsibility for supplying the money. It was just built. These murals all over the walls depicting almost apocalyptic Armageddon scenes of soldier-like figures in gas masks with all green smoke in the air, swiping the swords at groups of children, of all things. And these are in an airport. These gargoyles everywhere. Outside, there's, I can't remember the name exactly, but it's like Satan's Stallion. And it's a huge metal horse, gigantic big metal horse that's rearing up with fire red, blood red eyes. The artist died just before he finished it because the head, while he was finishing the head off, the head actually fell on him and crushed him to death. It was finished by his apprentices and understudies, and that stands at the approach to this new Denver Airport. Because the old one now, there was nothing wrong with it. It was quite a serviceable airport. It, not long built, is now closed down. And then this new Denver Airport is being used. There's runways there that are never used. It's crazy. Really, really crazy. But again, where do these things come from? Where do these theories and all these ideas come from? We don't know. So at the end of the day, Denver Airport, if you like conspiracy theories, then have a look at Denver. It's absolutely fascinating what the amount of money that was spent on it and what they did and what's rumoured that it really is. Oh, other conspiracy theories. See, this is where Johnny knows all these different conspiracies. I only know a few of them. But MK Ultra, mind control. Another one. Is it real? Subliminal advertising, subliminal things on the TV that flash up for split seconds. We don't know. We really don't know. These conspiracy theories have to come from somewhere. It's MK Ultra. Apparently, they worked on mind control for a long time. There's the theories that run alongside Ethics MK Ultra, where they're trying to create the ultimate soldier through mind control, who has no fear, who's quite happy to just run into the battlefield, get on with it, and doesn't question what he's doing, all because of mind control. Stuff put in the water, in the drinking water, which brings back another conspiracy theory, is that the world's water supply, the world's water has been sold on, so that we've got no supply of water. Again, who knows? Who knows? Just 1 second. I think Johnny's just messaging me. I was messaging him back. But so these theories, they've got to gain from somewhere. Apparently, one guy, like I said, I can't remember, there's something Boone, I think it, or Boom, is buying up all of America's water to sell. Is it real? Don't know. Really don't know. These things have to come from somewhere. There's got to be some evidence of these things. Again, are they put out there by the government for us to look into for some reason? Really, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. But there's hundreds of these things out there. And it seems like there's more and more popping up by the day. But again, all these new ones that come up, there's got to be foundation somewhere. There's got to be something that starts them off. There's got to be a spark that gets them going. Where does that spark come from? Is it planted? Is it something that somebody's seen? We really don't know. Will we ever find out? Again, don't know. Chemtrails. What are chemtrails? This is one of the most popular ones of recent times, where they think that the people, conspiracy theorists, say that the chemtrails are dropping mist chemicals down on us that are controlling us, diseases, all sorts of things, avian flu, swine flu, Australian flu. All these things, apparently, according to conspiracy theorists, are man-made. We just don't know. Really not sure. But I think we have Johnny with us now.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm just trying to fluff my way through my conspiracy theories.
I got to apologize. The time zones from there
no
to
problem,
Iowa.
Mate.
I was like, it's about half an hour till I go on. So.
Not a problem. Before we jump onto the conspiracies, how's it all gone at the Cellar House?
Oh, pretty good. I just wrapped up season 1 of Johnny Hauser Verse, and I'm kind of glad to be done with that axe murder house because it got pretty creepy there for a while.
Yeah, it was good then.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's got plenty of evidence, and yeah, it's a strange house for sure.
That's what matters.
Yes.
I've just been waffling myself away through some conspiracy theories, touched on one of my favourites, Denver Airport.
Oh, yes.
Tried to explain all the, what was it, I reckon there's a vicious city built underneath it.
Yes, and I went through Denver Airport probably 10 years ago, and I remember seeing the murals.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, that's a guy in a machine gun and a gas mask and little kids running and crying, and why do they have this in an airport?
It's not exactly family friendly, is it?
Not at all. And, and it goes into the strange little codes that are in the tiles on the floor. And, of course, the idea of the New World Order, one world government, end of the planet, the rich elite are going to meet there where they have the underground compound, for sure.
Who are this rich elite?
Yeah, not me.
No, me.
I think the name Justin Bieber keeps coming up in everything I read. So.
I can't see Justin Bieber being a member of the Illuminati myself.
No. Although they do believe he is part of the Anunnaki lizard people that live in the center of the earth. I can see that, but
yeah, that's believable. That one. I mean, I've just been saying to the listeners, we all hear about the New World Order and the Illuminati, the most influential, richest people on the planet, etc. But nobody knows who they are.
Exactly, and maybe that's what they want. They don't want anyone knowing who they are, And I think a good number of them probably hang out at Bohemian Grove every July.
That's with the big carved owl, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's the most prominent men in the world camp there, and they kind of discuss. A lot of people believe what is going to happen in the world. They make the decisions, along with pagan rituals and a bunch of beer drinking and worshiping a gigantic owl. So these are the people. These are the people running things. Yeah,
I was some strange party in the middle of the woods with a big owl.
Exactly, and that happens. That goes down. Half of our presidents and some of the richest leaders in the world go there, and have been going there for many years.
Yeah, it's scary, really, isn't it? That they're doing that and then running the country on the ideas they come up with while they've been drinking and partying.
Exactly, and some of my best ideas have come up when I'm at the pub, and I've had a few. Maybe that's the mindset behind it. But it is very. What disturbs me is the big power players, the people. Like we were talking, the people in charge of the elite, the Illuminati, whatever. The most powerful people in the world gather for 2 weeks in July. And they discuss us and things, and that really happens, and that's very concerning.
Definitely. Do you think that they're trying to keep the whole world in a state of fear and unrest?
Nothing controls a population like fear.
Yeah.
That's one way. I'm not saying that's what's happening. But if I was wanting to control an entire population, it would be through fear, to where they depend on you. I mean, just like the Roman government, like you control with fear, and they depend on you for protection and for everything. And I mean, you got them right where you want them.
Yeah, that's what better way. Keep everybody under the thumb. And it's like a central bank. It's like countries that are billions of dollars or billions of pounds in debt every year. They're trying to break. Who's that debt to? Exactly.
How do we owe money when we create money? What is money? What is, am I even here right now? Is it possible that everything around you is an incredibly intricate dream? You know, were you or any of the listeners in a coma, and this is all part of your consciousness? You know,
I say it's like the Mandela effect. Are we crossing timelines?
exactly. And the Mandela effect is. I love conspiracies. I love wild and crazy conspiracies, but the Mandela effect is one that I am really starting to believe.
Yeah, I was just talking about this before you came on. It's like I can remember so clearly as a child growing up, watching Star Wars and having the action figures, and C-3PO was gold.
Yeah,
He didn't have a silver leg.
exactly. And now Darth Vader has a silver nose. I don't remember that.
No. And it's like, how is it possible for you to suddenly go, right, pick your DVD up, stick it in your DVD player that you bought years and years, and there's C-3PO with his silver leg and Darth Vader with a silver nose.
Yeah.
How can that change?
Why do we, and if it isn't true, why do all of us have these false memories, these exact same false memories? That's even as scary as
Definitely.
the idea of this is all a computer-generated sim, or that CERN created a black hole and we jumped dimensions. You know, it's like Mickey Mouse has a tail. I never remember Mickey Mouse having a tail, but now it has a tail.
Yeah, the Monopoly guy never had a monocle.
Yeah. The Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz now is carrying a pistol while he's walking through the haunted woods. I know that never happened.
No. It blows your mind, doesn't it? When you think, that didn't happen. Makes you think you're going mad.
Exactly. And, you know, once you go down the rabbit hole of the Mandela effect, you're going to go outside and it's going to seem really weird when you walk out.
Oh, definitely. We spent a good 2 or 3 nights just solid on YouTube watching all these different Mandela effect videos. And it does you think, are we really here?
Exactly.
How can that have happened?
Yeah, you know, and like our brains, you know, it's all perception, I guess. You know, like our brains create these little shortcuts. So it's kind of like you don't believe what you see, but you see what you believe.
Yeah.
You know, and optical illusions are proof that our brains create these shortcuts, because that's kind of your eyes and your brain's short-circuiting, you know. What happens to things when we're not looking at them? You know, a lot of philosophers and scientists have theories that they cease to exist. I mean, nothing truly. We can't prove that anything really exists outside of our own consciousness.
Yeah.
So
that's true. It is. Is what we see just what we see? Exactly.
And am I even on this show right now? Am I part of your own dream?
Yeah,
it can get into some really weird stuff for sure.
Definitely.
But
often get to that.
But with the Mandela effect, all of us have experienced the same false memory, or is that proof that all of us are all a figment of my dream or your consciousness, to where everybody in the world remembers C-3PO as being all gold?
Yeah.
Maybe that's everybody in your world, in your created sim, you know.
And somebody else's sim, he had the silver leg.
Yeah, exactly.
I say, could we all be hooked up to a machine and dreaming, and there's a glitch in that machine when these things happen? It could get crazy, couldn't it?
You know, my wife, I'll go on my rants of conspiracy theories to her, which usually she starts spacing off within 30 seconds. But today she was like, well, why, with this Mandela effect, why is it affecting the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz? And it's like, it's not affecting him. It's not somebody doing it. It's like little glitches in the Matrix. It's affecting random. Yeah.
You just never know. You just never know.
And she's like, well, why would somebody put a gun in his hand all of a sudden? Well, it's not somebody. Or is it somebody? Is it the Illuminati trying to make us all crazy?
I suppose that begs the question that if they suggested enough that the Scarecrow was carrying a gun, do we, even though when you put your DVD on or you watch it when it's on a rerun on TV, he might not be carrying a gun, but because it's now in your consciousness that he's carrying a gun, you're seeing the gun.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good one. That's it's our consciousness and our brain making these shortcuts on what we expect. And I tell a lot of people that are going into haunted locations, if you're expecting it to be a certain way, it's probably going to be that way because that's what your brain is now making shortcuts to.
Yeah. So I suppose you could link really. Then if you try and look at it that way, link it into like chemtrails. Are they putting a chemical in the air that almost like subliminally your brain accepts what they're telling you? So even though it's not there when you're looking, it's there in your subconscious, so you're seeing it.
That reminds me of an interview I seen with Prince was talking about chemtrails.
Yeah.
And he said, we'd be in the neighborhood and a plane would fly over and you'd see these chemtrails and all of a sudden everybody in the neighborhood would be in a bad mood. Well, is it because people are expecting that they are not, that kind of takes a fine line of putting that intent and that thought into their head.
Exactly, yeah. I say, a few people in a bad mood could put other people in a bad mood, then they're like, that's the chemtrails, and everybody's in a bad mood.
Yeah,
power of
exactly.
Suggestion. And
I on one of my episodes, I brought a skeptic into the Axe Murder House. Not really a skeptic, just someone who doesn't do this type of thing. And I wanted to see if the house fed on fear. Oh. Well, this girl was an elementary school teacher. She writes poetry, very wholesome. And I put her in some scary positions. Well, the next day she got in a car wreck. And, for like a month now, she's been blaming every bad thing on being in that house. I'm like, I go, well, you probably were in a car wreck because it was really icy out. I go, don't go down that rabbit hole because everything that could possibly happen will be because of that place, and you'll start manifesting all this bad luck around you. And
I think a lot of people do that. It's once you even when you read into conspiracy theories, or like you say, you're in a haunted location and things start happening, it's so easy to attribute those things to what you've just watched and heard or where you've just been. And then it escalates for everything that then happens in your mind as something to do with what you've just watched or where you've been.
Yeah. And, during this particular scene that got really hairy, we were in the kids' room closet, and I was like, Steph, like, if the ghosts wanted to attack us, why would you get in a wreck a day later? I mean, we were right there in the closet, we were right there trapped, so...
Could have done it there and there. Yeah, why wait?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen conspiracy theories with Jesse Ventura?
Yes, and part of me really loves that show, and part of me really hates that show.
Exactly the same as me. I think it's fascinating to watch, but I think a lot of the scenarios are set up.
Yes, yeah, and there was an ordeal here where. I think he sued the widow of a Navy SEAL, which is like, come on, dude. Wow. Yeah, it was a bad thing. And Marcus Luttrell, who the movie Lone Survivor was based after, like raised a bunch of money for this widow. And I'm not sure exactly what went on, but that was just like, that's low. Yeah.
Definitely.
And some of the, I'm really I loved it because he was going, and it was an actual show about conspiracy theories, but I felt like it got a little hokey there for a while.
Yeah, the man in the white van that they kept meeting.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Whoa, the mysterious man in the white van.
See, not that mysterious when his face isn't pixelated or nothing and you can see who he is. It's...
Yeah.
What's your favourite conspiracy theory at the moment that's out there?
Well, let me see. Right now, I'm really enjoying the idea of the moon being a hollow spaceship. So, and, sounds crazy, sounds hilarious, which I think it's both. But, okay, moon rocks are 5.3 billion years old.
Yeah.
And the dust they set on are around 6 billion years old. So that proves, that the moon did not break off from this planet because Earth is around 4 billion years old.
Yeah.
And look, on November 20th, 1969, Apollo 12 crashed on the moon, causing an earthquake. And the moon actually reverberated like a bell for over an hour.
Wow.
And so seismic instruments that were on the moon recorded this, and it went on for about 3 hours and to depths of, I think, like 25 miles, proving that the moon is really light or has no core.
Oh.
And it's the only moon in our solar system that has almost a perfectly circular orbit. So it's probably not captured by our gravitational pull like most moons are. You look at most moons, they look like blobbed up cookie dough. Ours is perfectly round. The center is like 6,000 feet closer than the geometric center, so it should wobble. And the near side of the moon has more craters than the other side. So it's almost like it was traveling at one point, and taking on craters.
Gathering debris up and stuff.
Yeah, so, that's kind of one of my...
Wow, yeah. The thought of it ringing like a bell, that's like, wow.
Yeah, when you hear it, you're like, okay. But then when you start getting into some of the data, it's like, that's kind of odd. One of my all-time favorites that I think is just, I don't believe, I just have to put that out there right off the bat, is that the Beatles never existed.
I've heard that one.
Yeah. And, we've all heard that the Paul McCartney was a body double. And we all know that one. Well, there's one out there now that the Beatles were created by the reptilian race that live in the center of our Earth, of course. And they basically are like, shape-shifting and using body doubles to keep this going, this Beatle mania, to control the population that are eventually going to enslave us. And that even goes even further with like the ice bucket challenge. I don't know if that was a thing over there. Where
it was. Yeah.
That's actually a purification ritual that the reptilians got us all to do for the mass extermination that's about to happen. So that's a so
makes you wonder where they pick these up from.
Yeah, somebody that has a lot of time. And the Paul McCartney thing, I don't believe that, but I can see it. Like there's certain, you look at the Sgt. Pepper's album cover and Abbey Road, where he's got his shoes off and socks off. I can see where, some hippie in the 60s doing a little too much recreational drugs could have come up with that.
Definitely, yeah.
But the fact that the Beatles never existed at all, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
that's a little
bit of a stretch, that one.
Yeah.
It's like tonight, earlier on, I was watching something on, I think it was on the news, I can't remember, and they were talking about satellites, and they're showing you a view from supposedly a satellite in space. And I sat there and I thought, okay, it's showing you a view from a satellite, but there must be hundreds, if not thousands, of satellites circling our Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you see them? How come this satellite was showing you a shot of Earth, but you couldn't see any of the satellites on it?
Exactly, and with everything that's from GPS, there can't...
Yeah, can't be just one.
Yeah, just one cool satellite that runs everything.
Yeah.
And if that's the fact, then once that thing goes down, we're screwed.
Definitely. A question for you off Mark in the chat room. He says, what does Johnny think about government conspiracy theories like MK Ultra and mass civilian testing and control?
I absolutely 100% believe that has all happened. There for a while, the government was like trying to feed people LSD and shock therapy, and that kind of ties into the MK Ultra deal. At one point, Ivanov, I think he was, which was a Russian scientist, tried to create humanzees, which was a cross of chimpanzees and humans, to create this humanzee army for the Russian government. And that happened. I mean, he was he's inseminating chimpanzee seed into females to try and get them to create, because our DNA is so similar. And there's actually, in the 70s, I believe, my good friend John Tinney talks about this quite a bit. Oliver the humanzee. And he looked human. He walked upright. He preferred human females over chimpanzee females. And in fact, tried mating with one of his owners, and she had to finally give him away. He'd drink bourbon, smoke cigars.
Wow. So
the fact that somebody tried to make an army of humanzees, the Gulf of Tonkin, which got the United States into Vietnam, was a false flag attack. I mean, I totally believe that a lot of this... there was a guy, and I'm probably going to botch this up because it's just off of memory, which is probably affected by the Mandela effect at this moment. There was a guy who worked, at least for the Air Force Base, and he was writing the Air Force, his commanding officer, saying he's seeing these UFOs. And it kept going on, and he had proof of these UFOs, and he's seeing it happen. Well, the government, in turn, said, you're right. You are seeing them. We know about them, and we need your help. So they wrangled him into this story, basically turned him to where he thought he was insane, and ruining his life and locking him up in a mental home and that kind of stuff. I think happens a lot more often than we know or expect, which really terrifies me. So if the man is listening, I don't believe any of it. I never said any of this.
It's all what we've read on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that lots of stories about people who delve too far into these things suddenly go missing and they're never seen again, or they end up in mental institutions and things like that.
Yeah, I think it would be real easy to just we're expendable,
Yeah.
I think it'd be real easy for people to just go away, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one idea that I was toying with just before he came on, if the governments want these conspiracy theories sort of quashed and hidden away, why did they let little bits of information out about them? Are they tempting us to look into them?
I think it's the idea of hiding in plain sight. Oh yeah, these kooks think it's UFOs at Area 51. Oh, yep, it is. Yeah, because a general majority of the population wants to think that we all want to think we're the smartest and we know everything, and we're naturally going to fall in line with those people, those nuts. It's harder to believe some of this stuff. And in reality is stranger, I think, than imagination.
Definitely, yeah. I agree with that. So it's like I say, it's more hide it in plain sight, get people talking about it, and then claim that the people that talk about it are off the rocker. They don't know what they're talking about. It's all being made up.
Exactly.
A lot of time when they release little snippets of information to get people talking about a conspiracy theory, do you think that could be a false flag while they talk about something else? Something else is going off in the background while everybody's concentrating on something else.
Yep. Yeah. Divert attention to, and usually whenever the news is on and there's some kind of big catastrophe happen, my brain instantly goes to, okay, what's going on behind the scenes right now?
Yeah.
Like what is this covering up?
Definitely.
And, right now in the United States, we have this big spree of school shootings.
Yeah.
And which is so unfortunate and so horrible. But a lot of people think that and it goes as far as a lot of people think that the people talking about these school shootings and involved in it are all crisis actors hired by the government to enforce this gun control, banning weapons. And the ultimate goal is to get rid of all weapons. And once you have a nation that depends on one government for survival, and then their weapons are taken away and they're solely dependent on the government, I mean, that's a very scary scenario.
Yeah.
That's kind of going back to Rome when it crashed.
An unarmed populace is easier to control than an armed one.
Exactly. And, I was watching an interview with Waylon Jennings, the country singer, early 80s, and there was a school shooting out by Nashville, and somebody asked about this, and he said, first thing you need to do is stop blasting these idiots on TV and giving them their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
And so it's been going on for a long time, but now it's a huge, huge, huge issue about gun control, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that the governments, the powers that be that control the governments, are trying different things to bring about at the same end?
I do. I think that, okay, say you're a billionaire. You have everything you could possibly want. What's left? Total control of the play. And I'm not saying every billionaire is this way, everybody with money, but I know money-hungry people that want power and they want to keep climbing that ladder. And it's just like with your job. I want to get hired to this job. I want better pay. I want to be the suit. Everybody wants to climb and be that ladder and go further and further. And when you're at the top, what else is there besides world domination?
Yeah, it's almost like they're playing a big game of Risk with us as the little plastic pieces.
Yeah, we're just the little toys that they're playing with, and and I really see our world going to one currency, one language, one central bank, and whoever controls the world's money, wow.
That's it. Everything and everybody will be in the pockets.
Yep.
Yeah. What about 9/11? Was that set up or was it real? Did it happen?
It was. I remember. That's one of those moments I remember exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
And horrible, horrible tragedy for sure. I was just listening to a podcast that was going over the conversation that was happening in United 93, I think, the one that crashed in the field that was headed toward DC.
Yeah.
And just hearing the heroics of these people that are going to take down their attackers. It's like, man, I was speechless after listening to their plan and their exact conversation, exact words. But so, my hat's off to all the victims. However, we'll start with first, there's a lighthearted kind of conspiracy about this. And the idea is that Saddam Hussein had a Stargate in Iraq.
Right.
And that basically Iraq, and this goes back to the lizard people, the Anunnaki, and that Iraq was the home of the Garden of Eden, supposedly. And so there's a Stargate in there, and George Bush Sr. had interest in trying to get control over it. No luck, so George Jr. decided to create the 9/11 attacks as a way to get into Iraq and take over the Stargate. Anyway, this kind of goes to, okay, right when this happened, I remember distinctly, it was shortly after it was, what was his name? Guy with a big long beard. I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Not Saddam, but...
Oh, I know you mean. Osama bin Laden.
Yes, bin Laden.
That's it. We got there.
Yeah, so there's Mandela kicking in again. They're wanting to... So this happens, and it comes out that bin Laden was the dude that orchestrated it, yet we go after Saddam Hussein. And it's like, what? I remember when this happened, it was like, that's a totally different deal, That's... Yeah. But going in the videos now and watching, I mean, I've never seen a skyscraper collapse like that, except for, organized demolition.
Yeah.
World Trade Center 7, which was not any, blocks away from these other two, it collapsed like that.
The same way, yeah.
How did that happen? The gigantic hole in the Pentagon is supposedly a plane flew right into the side of this little building, and there's no wreckage of the plane whatsoever. And the first shot you see, it's a perfect hole before the roof collapsed. And if you look closely, there's an office right next to it with a book on a pedestal that's still there. Like, it's not burnt, it's not destroyed. And there's no video of this plane flying into the most protected government building in this country. There's no cameras.
Crazy, yeah. I mean, how can the wings of a plane are so light and fragile, how did they cut through reinforced steel concrete?
Yeah.
Surely the wings would have sheared off and the fuselage, if anything, had gone through.
Exactly. It doesn't add up for me. I mean, it makes zero sense. And you go back and you watch I remember watching them interviewing police and fire department as it's happening. They're talking about these bombs and explosions going off, and all that's gone from the interviews. And it's like, no, it was planes. It was a terrorist thing from these terrorists that could barely even fly a plane that took one class in Florida.
They managed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, watched the video the other day, and they were saying that there weren't any planes at all that actually hit the buildings. That was all footage that was edited, ready to put out as soon as the explosions went off. And then, same again, mind control. They told people it was planes, so people believed that they'd seen a plane.
Yeah, and, at first I was like, I knew the bin Laden, Saddam thing, and I thought, who cares? Saddam needs taken out anyway. While we're at it, get rid of that guy. But then it's like, okay, without Saddam, now they're saying ISIS wouldn't be doing what they're doing if Hussein was, which I don't know. That delves into a political thing that I'm not into. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it's extremely obvious that two planes flying in wouldn't have done that. I could be wrong, but to me, I don't buy it. And
I agree completely.
We're guilty of false flag attacks with going back to the Gulf of Tonkin. to get us into Vietnam. War creates money.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the thing of apparently Osama bin Laden was CIA trained and was an American sleeper agent all the time.
Yeah, and our government flying family members out of the United States after it happened. Of bin Laden's. It's like, what? So this guy attacks us, and then in return, we get all his family to safety.
Just doesn't add up, does it, at all?
No. But we're told that's what happens, so the mass majority believes that's what happens because we were told that's what happened.
Yeah. I think basically we've just noticed we've run out of time, but basically to sum it all up, I think that sort of goes for a lot of conspiracy theories and things that goes off. We're told on the news and all forms of media that this is what happened. So, like I say, the vast majority believe that.
Exactly. And, to kind of go back to my buddy John Tinney, he always ends his lectures with, don't believe a thing I said. Don't believe a thing anyone standing in a suit tells you. Look into it for yourself. Come up with your own ideas.
Exactly. Well, so we have to wrap it up. It's been a fascinating time again.
Absolutely. And I got to apologize again. My time zones were off. And
that's not a problem.
I'm glad I looked at my messages when I did.
I'm sure we'll have another chat again before long.
Absolutely.
So, been fantastic having you on. Thank you to everybody that's been listening. And thank you once again, Johnny, for coming on again. And hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Carrie.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.